Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Owl House, Season 2, Episode 19. We are in the home stretch. There's only 3 more episodes, including this one. And you know that means shit's about to go down. We're really going to, amp things up. And the second half of the season, as I keep saying, has been just balls to the wall the entire time. They've not been holding back. They've been keeping everything just constantly moving. And as I've also said, with as few episodes as we're getting in Season 3, it's probably just because we have so little to work with. They were given such a small order to end off the series, so they have to keep pushing. And again, Dana and them are doing an excellent job. The crew is doing fantastic to make it as good as they can, to make it the best they can for what we have. And they're succeeding. I want to make that clear. It is just sad that we can't have more. And people have, already petitioned and fought for the idea of getting more, but it's already done. We're not getting more. This is going to end off the Owl House. It's going to be finite. It's just going to be the end. As much as we wish there could be more, there's not going to be. Which means that the 3 double-length episodes we're going to have in Season 3 are going to all be insane. They are going to be absolutely nuts the entire time. And I'm just wondering, how is this season going to end to lead into that? Because it basically amounts to the Season 3 being composed of 3 separate hour-long specials. And so, if that's going to finish off the series, again, that's going to be balls to the wall insane the entire time. How is this season going to end off? I'm thinking that it's going to end on a cliffhanger. And I hate that idea on one hand, but on the other, I think it's a genius idea if they do that. Because with what they have, I kind of think it needs to. It needs to end off while giving us so much hype and thirst for more that Season 3 is just... I want it to do so well that it kind of tells the Disney executives that this is what people want. That their decision to shorten the series and make Dana and the crew have to do all of this to make it work. I want the Disney executives to realize what a big fuck up this has been. And so I think that would be the best case scenario, to have Season 2 end off on a cliffhanger. As much as that's going to hurt for the wait between, the hiatus between, have Season 2 end off in a cliffhanger. And then have the 3 double-length special episodes of Season 3 be so hardcore that it gets everybody's love and attention more than ever. It's just so hype, so much excitement surrounding it that it just blows everyone away. That would be the best case scenario, I feel, with what we've got. But that all being said, yeah, this is the final 3 episodes, and considering we're left off at the moment, Hexside is fighting against the Emperor's Coven. Luz and King and Hootie, we don't know what happened to them following the events of learning about King's heritage and everything. And Lilith and Ida, they're not at the Owl House, presumably, so who knows where they're at, too. So it's like, I assume we're going to find out this episode, probably. We kind of have to. We can only have so much time away from our main characters, right? I mean, we had some main characters last episode. Hunter, Willow, Gus, Amity, but it's like we got to catch back up now, and with the finale probably being basically a two-parter like season one's was, um, I feel like we got to catch up before that because the finale is probably going to at least start the Day of Unity. That would be my guess, at least. Um, and if I had to go by that, if it does leave off on a cliffhanger, season three might just be kind of an all-out war. Like, it might be just like that big of a scale, and I'm all for that if that is how it goes. So we'll have to see. Obviously, I don't know anything about what's coming. When I downloaded this episode, I actually had to look for a separate mega link than I normally use because the folder I normally have been using, I don't know, like, there could be a number of reasons. I'm not blaming the person who normally uploads to the folder, but it hadn't been uploaded earlier today, and so I basically just had to find somewhere, I had to find another mega link. And because of that, I did see the title, but I don't remember what it was. So, yay! I was hoping that would happen too. It's like I saw the title when I was downloading it, but the actual file after downloading it, I changed it so it didn't have the title in it. And then I watched some stuff with my sister, so I completely forgot. I completely forgot what it was. I don't remember at all, and I'm so happy that that actually worked. That I was actually able to scrub that from my mind. Because sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes that doesn't happen. It's really hit or miss for me whether or not that does end up happening. So, yeah, like I said, I'm glad it did. Either way, we're going to get on with this and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, the moment we've all been waiting for this entire series, finally, we get to see Steve's face. But in all seriousness, it's surprisingly become kind of this... It started almost like this kind of like in-joke thing. It was like clearly meant to be like this. He was meant to be this gag character. He was just there for laughs and everything. But people, the fandom really latched on to him. And so I think that's why, in a way, Dana and the team actually went somewhere with him. Because if this was planned from the beginning, that's genius level IQ. That's the big brain. Because it's like it just feels like this is something they did for the fans, because again, the fans latched on to Steve so much. He was so popular, and we finally get to see what he looks like. And yeah, like I said in the reaction, he's kind of cute. And we see that he's a good guy, that he actually very much disagrees with the Day of Unity, just like all the others in the rebellion. We've seen that he sees that even though this was his goal from his childhood, in the same way like Ida and Lilith, he started to see that this is wrong. And just the development we got for his character in this, also it suddenly kind of made him really badass and cool with the freaking awesome motorcycle and style and everything. It's like, okay, this is new. But there's a lot to love about this episode. This was so fucking good. And after having a couple episodes that were a little weaker, not bad, but weaker. The one with King and the Titan Trappers was the weakest of the season, honestly, I think. At least one of the weakest of the season. And even the last one, even though it was really good, it just wasn't on the level of other ones we've gotten. During this season, especially the second half. So this one really shined, though. This is going to be up there for me. I'm definitely going to have to see it more to really get a good feel for where I would place it. But it's definitely up there for me. this episode touched on a lot of things that were important. Not only bringing back together our main group, but really bolstering the rebellion and just kind of building and setting things up for what's to come in this finale. I really loved what they did with Luz and Ida in this episode, and their argument and fight, I think, was not only just important for their characters and everything, but I feel like was really well handled. Like, there's a lot of ways that could have gone wrong, where it would just feel like, oh, they just threw that in out of nowhere, but honestly, it fits with both characters. We know that Ida has become fiercely protective of Luz. And we've seen that she has wanted to keep Luz out of this, out of the Day of Unity. Like, that's not just coming out of nowhere. But we also know that Luz is, I wouldn't say a hothead, but she's very much someone who will never back down. She does not believe that she needs to be protected, and she truly wants to fight, and she, not just for herself, not just for her own sake, not just because she thinks she's good enough, but because she wants to be there to protect those she cares about too. And Ida didn't even realize that she was doing what Rain was doing for her, because, I mean, she didn't know Rain was doing that for her initially. They were doing the same thing. They were trying to protect Ida and keep her out of it. And we knew, of course, that while they had great intentions, Rain wasn't exactly in the right for doing that. Ida needs to be a part of this. And so we see Ida doing the same thing with Luz, and we understand the same is kind of true. But we also understand Ida. Her desire to protect Luz is completely understandable. We all want to protect Luz. Like, she's definitely that kind of character. You just have that protective feeling for. And so, showcasing that here, that Ida is just that desperate to do so, to where she'll even risk, like, getting Luz angry at her just to do it. It's like, we understand. We know she's wrong, and that Luz should be a part of this, but again, we also know that Ida just wants to protect her daughter. Because no matter how you look at it, Luz is her daughter. Ida has, without a question, become Luz's mother in the Boiling Isles. And that's not to take away from Camila at all. Camila is just as important. And I think that we need to showcase that characters can have different parental figures for different places and different reasons. Like, even if you're in really good terms with your actual parent or parents or whatever your living situation is, if you live with your grandparents or just a guardian in general, even if you have a great relationship with them, you can have other parental figures in your life. It's very possible. And even though, like, Luz has her mother back in the human realm, Ida has been her mother here. I've talked about this before with other shows and stuff, but I've made it very clear how much I really love the found family dynamic whenever it's shown in anything. And not just found family, but chosen family. It's something that's really important to me. As someone who's not on the best terms with my parents, as someone who has had a strained relationship, even more so after coming out as trans, the chosen family dynamic is extremely important for me. And so seeing this at play in shows like One Piece and The Owl House, this is why these shows mean so much to me. It's important to show this for anyone who might need to see shit like this. For the kids watching this who need to feel like they belong and need to know that they're worth it. And even for the adults who need to feel just what they were never given as kids, or what they feel that they didn't receive enough of. I talked about before how Amity is a very huge comfort character for me in this show. And I've also mentioned that this show in general is a comfort show for me. Not just because it's always entertaining to watch and always fun. Even the worst episodes are still really enjoyable. It's such a comfort show to me because of how much I connect to things from it and how important it's become to me because of that. So seeing the dynamic between Ida and Luz in this episode was important. They weren't fighting out of hate or distrust or anything like that. It was out of love. Ida's love for Luz, wanting to protect her, and Luz's love for everyone that she's befriended and chosen as her family on the Boiling Isles. And now they realize that their family has grown. More members than ever before. This rebellion isn't just a group of people fighting against a corrupt dictator, basically, who wants them all dead, by the way. It's a family who is trying to protect their home and the people they love. And I think that's the core of this series. I think that's what makes the Owl House so important. Just as much as the queer representation. Just as much as the biracial representation. We have a series that speaks to the people who need it the most and tells us that it's okay. And it's not going to hold things back. It's going to show that there's going to be issues, there's going to be dangers, there's going to be scary situations. But you know that when we all come together, we can face those oppositions and show the world that love wins out. I know I've gotten very serious here, but this show it does that to me. I've talked about how this show has become one of my favorites of all time, and that's no hyperbole. This show means so fucking much to me that it's not just one of my favorites of all time out of just entertainment, but out of connection. And while I still may be a bigger fan of One Piece overall, I do genuinely believe that this has kind of overtaken Carol and Tuesday for me as my second place. And I still love Carol and Tuesday, and it does a lot of amazing things as well, especially with the chosen family dynamic. I mean, Carol and Tuesday are definitely within that range, whether you ship them or see them as sister figures. They have chosen each other after having such questionable family dynamics in terms of Tuesday, and with Carol, just none. So it's very clear that my favorite shows, my top 3 favorite shows between this, One Piece, and Carol Tuesday, it's very clear the kind of stuff that matters to me, the kind of stuff that's important to me when it comes to a series. Other than just great writing, character building, direction and pacing, like all of these series have. It's the depth and the humanity that they go into, and the messages of love at their core. And this episode had a lot more to love than just that. Like, that's not even getting into King trying to discover himself, going on this journey with Steve while he examines the bones of his father and connects with the island in a very similar way to the last time Luz was on the knee and she had to connect to the magic of the island. That's also not to discount everything that they did with this rebellion, showing that everything is all building up in a very satisfactory way. This is just proving to me that even despite Disney shortening this series and trying to, whether intentionally or not, trying to screw over Dana and the team and the fans, that despite all that, Dana understood that this story is important and needs to be told, and that even with the shortened length, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that this gets out there. And that, I think, is the true magic of the Owl House. Everything that Dana and the crew have put into it, and everything that the fans, everything we get out of it. This fandom flourishes in a way that few others have, because it matters to people. It's made a huge difference in so many lives, and we're gonna make that known. We're gonna show those Disney executives that this series matters. And yeah, I definitely think that Dana is going to give us one hell of a season 2 finale and one hell of a season 3, as short as it's going to be. This episode is definitely up there for me in the season, and honestly, probably the series. Like I said, I'm going to have to see it more times to truly get a feel for where I would place it on my list. But when I make the video of my favorite season 2 episodes, I'm sure you can expect to see this on there. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And I want to give a special thanks to Smurf. I dropped the series, and I make no, I don't hide that I regret that. I made a mistake based on just one thing. And Smurf, who was basically like, fuck that, you gotta continue. He donated to make sure that I could continue watching. And it was, in my opinion, one of the best things he could have done. Because just like when he helped me to get my new laptop when my old one was breaking down, as silly as it sounds, him donating to have me continue this has allowed me to watch a show that has changed my life. And while I may have continued to watch it on my own, I can't be sure. With how my schedule tends to go, I can't be sure if I would have continued it on my own. So I very much extend a very thankful, very big, like practically on my knees, just without actually being, on my knees, a huge thanks to Smurf for allowing me to experience something that, again, has changed my life and just done so much for me on, if nothing else, than an emotional and mental level. We have 2 episodes to go. And it's going to completely go off. We know these last 2 episodes of the season are going to be intense, and whether or not my prediction about it ending the season in a cliffhanger ends up being true or not, it's going to be amazing. I have nothing but the utmost trust and respect for Dana and her team. They are going to make this the best they possibly can. And when this does end, I'm going to cry like a fucking baby. But I'm also going to look into this camera. And as sincere as I'm going to say it now, I'm going to tell Dana, thank you. Thank you for changing my life. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.